Ladies and gentlemen, if you are unaware of the situation the Chicago Bulls are currently in right now, we have hired a brand new coach in Billy Donovan. And as of 11 hours ago, and definitely probably will be more by the time this video comes out, the Chicago Bulls held a press conference with both Arturas and Billy Donovan to go and express what their situation for the Bulls will be and how they plan to see things going forward. And in that entire 1 hour press conference, post-conference, whatever you want to call it, there were a lot of key takeaways that really brought a lot of hype to the Chicago Bulls. And I want to talk about them in this very video. So without further ado, let's get this on the road. What's up everybody, it's the Aidan Sports Show and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a key takeaways video from the Chicago Bulls and more importantly Billy Donovan and Arturas talking about the Chicago Bulls, where they see the future of the Bulls as well as the players and how exactly they're going to build a winning franchise within this team. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below what do you guys think about that press conference. Now it's an hour long, so I know a lot of people probably will not watch the entire hour, and I definitely know that people don't have that time. So maybe this video can help a lot of people understand the entire press conference in just a few minutes, or maybe even more depending on how long this video actually goes. But I'm going to take a step-by-step approach to this. I'm going to talk about specific things at a time, and we're going to see where this video ends up. But there are a lot of takeaways for this video. So without further ado, let's kick things off with the very first one right now. So the first thing, and I think the most important thing that I got out of this press conference, especially when it comes to Billy Donovan and how he will be approaching this head coaching position with the Chicago Bulls, is that it's going to be a relationship-based team where it's gonna be up to Billy Donovan to get to know the players, to get to know the management, to get to know everybody involved in order to best determine the approach of the Chicago Bulls. He's mentioned it numerous times in this press conference. It's all about building the relationship, building their foundation, allowing these players to work in a situation where they know exactly what to expect from each other as well as their head coach. In my opinion, when you just listen to Billy Donovan, you listen to Arturas speak about the NBA, the knowledge of basketball, you know that you've seen it over the years with how poor our previous management and head coach was. Compared to this man, it's a breath of fresh air. I'm very excited by that. Yes, I agree with this. It's 100% about the relationship. You need to build a relationship. This team needs to be from a bunch of good players to a team, and that starts with the relationship. And I really appreciate Billy Donovan for coming out and saying this, because if you don't have a relationship as a team with the head coach, with the owners, with the management, with the executive vice president, with the general manager, if you don't have that relationship or a positive relationship with those people in charge as well as the players on the court, then it's going to be doomed from the very beginning. I'm very happy that's the approach that these guys are taking. That's the very first takeaway I wanted to mention in this video. I'm super excited to see how far this relationship can go. I think another thing that the Bulls definitely wanted to specify, especially with Billy Donovan and Arturas, was that this orientation of Billy Donovan and the team around him is going to be a players first orientation. They're going to focus on players. They're going to focus on development. They're going to focus on making the players get better every single day. And one of the quotes that Billy Donovan said when asked, do you think it's just as simple as putting a player in the position to succeed? And he said no, because it's a two-way street pretty much. Just as much as it is important to put a player in the position to succeed and put them in the role, give them the abilities and capabilities, it's also up to the players to go and watch film, to go and put in extra work, to go and build the foundation with each other. It's just as much on the players as it is on the coach. And that's especially what I like. I like having the players given responsibility. So when teams do beat us comfortably, we have the responsibility on everybody. When we do beat teams comfortably, we have the responsibility on everybody. It's everybody's fault as much as it's everybody's contribution. I really look forward to that. It is up to Billy Donovan to put these players in positions to succeed, but these players have to work hard to succeed in those positions, and that's exactly what I love to hear. I love to hear the players' progression. I love to hear that we're focusing on development of these players, and I definitely love to see that we're heading in the right direction in terms of creating a team unity and progressing every player to get better every day. Now, when it comes to speaking of unity, one thing that really spoke out to me in this press conference was building a team. Now, one of the best things that I heard Billy Donovan say in this press conference, and again, he had a lot of fire quotes. Literally every single quote nearly made me jump for joy inside. But one of the key things that he definitely said was to develop a team instead of a group of individuals. Instead of a group of individuals playing for themselves, it's time to make those individuals play as a team and play for each other, work for each other, play for each other, bond with each other. Again, it's all about the relationships, right? But now this relationship is to building a team. So, of course, he also mentioned he wants to talk with every single player and ask how they want to be used, how they feel comfortable, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how exactly they can build that situation with the Chicago Bulls where everybody will end up playing the best they could possibly be. But the big thing is that there will be sacrifices, and I love that. At the end of the day, sacrifices is everything in this league. You need some of the best players in the world need to sacrifice what they feel is right for the better of the team. It is what it is. Not every single player will shine in this project, but some players will do the right things to make sure that this team wins. I mean, if you look at the Lakers, I'm sure the Lakers have a lot of scorers on their team that would want the ball more, but it's going to be primarily in the hands of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. That's where the ball's going to go at the end of the day. You need to make sacrifices for the betterment of the team. Kyle Kuzma could drop 20 points per game when LeBron and AD weren't there, but when AD and LeBron did come, Kyle Kuzma dropped his points down by a lot, and he had to do what was right for the team in order to make the LA Lakers as good as they are. That's the type of sacrifice that the Chicago Bulls will need down the line. And of course, that is beautiful, allowing us to be a team, allowing us to sacrifice for each other and to work for each other and just actually be a team instead of being a bunch of individuals with all the talent in the world but cannot seem to formulate it into a team. Very, very good on that one. I really enjoyed that. Now, this one was kind of aimed at Arturas as well. This question was basically, how do you see the Bulls going in terms of their roster and what potentially could you do with the Chicago Bulls? And the big thing here was that the Chicago Bulls are in a great position under all circumstances. You have a great young core. Kobe White. Billy Donovan mentioned Kobe White splashing the OKC Thunder in his averaging 30 points per game era. We did versus the OKC Thunder, and that was one of the highlight games that I definitely remember out of Kobe White. He talked about Zach LaVine and how he's a great, versatile offensive player that can create his own shot. He talked about Larry Markkinen and how Larry Markkinen is a versatile player in his own right, and we could probably use more of him. And he also talked about Wendell Carter, young core, recruited him in high school. Talked about his relationship with Ryan Arcidiacono. He talked about good veterans in Otto Porter and Thaddeus Young. Overall, this roster has a great blend of young core and good veterans that can take this team closer to the goal that it needs to be, which in my opinion would be the NBA playoffs. But it's not just about that. He mentioned his draft picks. Obviously, we have the 4th pick. I've made plenty of videos about the draft, and most of those are going to be about the 4th pick at the NBA draft. We have that pick. We have future picks as well that could potentially be very good for us. And not only that, we have cap space, and that's what Arturas also mentioned that made me excited. We have the cap space, whether it's 2 years down the line or whether it's this year, however long it may be, to acquire big free agents with the Chicago Bulls. We have the cap space to improve this team, and that's a big thing as well. And I really enjoyed that answer because basically we could do whatever we want. We are a good free agency destination. We are a very large market with a brand new front office, a brand new organization, and it looks to be running extremely smoothly. And it only took a matter of days to basically get Billy Donovan to agree to this plan of the Chicago Bulls. So in the end, the decision making of this franchise has been extremely talented, extremely good, and we do have future assets that we could be looking forward to when it comes to draft and free agency, as well as the young core that we have today. That's a big plus in my opinion. Now, when it came to the communication of the Chicago Bulls players and Billy Donovan, there's been big news about that, saying that he did text a few of the players to try and get in contact with them. Obviously, in a very, very difficult situation, considering the Chicago Bulls are actually in their own mini bubble right now, training and working and playing together before they have to go back to their own separate, pretty much quarantine periods where they're going to have one coach and pretty much one workout session. So it's very difficult for the Chicago Bulls and Billy Donovan to actually get together and formulate plans, formulate strategies to actually improve us for next season. But of course, we don't even know when next season could begin. So this could be an element of time that the Chicago Bulls could definitely use in their factor, when maybe there is a chance that they could get their group workouts and Billy Donovan could go and see them, and they can actually formulate these strategies. I think this could be a very good thing. Of course, it's difficult now, and again, quarantine and of this entire situation, this global pandemic within America is a lot worse than I would say it is in Australia. And for that, it's going to be very difficult for them to try and overcome things like this very quickly. And with that being said, this time away from the coach might do us a little bit better when it comes to the time where they actually can formulate their strategies. Because at the end of the day, the bubble is still going on pretty much. The NBA Finals are still going on. We don't really know what's exactly happening with after the draft. We don't know anything. So it's interesting. And obviously the good news is that the Chicago Bulls are happy, they're excited, they're passionate, they're working hard, they're trying to get better. Obviously these are the top guys that are saying this, but at the end of the day, it's good to see that the Chicago Bulls are together right now, and hopefully they can stay together for a little bit longer and try and just get themselves and use their time wisely. As Donovan said, it's all about using your time wisely. The Chicago Bulls might not have that much time together, but if they can use their time effectively and wisely, they can still hopefully get a better idea of what they're supposed to do on the floor and get a better idea on how to develop themselves and get themselves ready for the next season. Now, if you're talking about the actual process of signing Billy Donovan as the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, well, as I mentioned before, that took a matter of days, and he pretty much said it himself. So obviously, after mutually parting ways with the OKC Thunder, Billy Donovan decided to head back to go see his family in Florida, and he arrived on the Friday. And then at the end of the day, basically on that Friday, Arturas was ready to get him on and have some meetings with him. Obviously, that didn't happen on the day. They had to wait till Monday just to give Billy a little bit of a break. And in the end, he tried to sell what the Chicago Bulls would be and the relationship building, and how the big thing about this as well was working in partners, holding hand process, working as partners to try and get the Chicago Bulls better. So basically the picture is you'd have Billy Donovan as the head coach, and you would have Arturas and Mark Eversley side by side with him as equals, as partners, to try and get the Bulls to become the best they could possibly be, to get everybody better. And that includes the staff. They're also going to be talking about how the staff, what kind of staff we would need, if the staff here is good enough, if the staff here would enable the Chicago Bulls to be better, and what exactly the Chicago Bulls are looking for. And all of this is a group effort, and it's all by partners, all are equals to get better. And I really enjoyed that. At the end of the day, we've seen it with the old ownership that there's multiple reasons why the Chicago Bulls have not succeeded over the past few years. That could be down to the players' mentality when it came to their head coach. Could definitely be about Jim Boylan. It could definitely be about Gar and John and the owners. But at the end of the day, things have changed, and we're looking to work together as a unit. And that's the key thing here. I feel like a lot of individuals were doing things for themselves and trying to make excuses for themselves and put the blame on others. I think you saw Gar Forman and John Paxson call out the players and call them crybabies for complaining about Jim Boylan. You also heard situations where Jim Boylan had to punish players because they felt like he didn't play the way that he wanted. Then you also have players firing back at Jim Boylan, like Daniel Gafford on his live stream saying that Jim Boylan's not that great of a coach or really that good of a man. And you had all these situations here, and it was basically every man for themselves. And that's the structure that we're trying to change. And that's a really big step for the Chicago Bulls if we can get that done. And it looks like we're making all the right moves to do that. Positivity in the Chicago Bulls franchise and for the fans worldwide. That is a very good thing that I think really needs to be stand out here. Now, when Billy Donovan was asked about the way that he would be able to coach the Chicago Bulls, and he mentioned, and also it was mentioned with previous teams like his OKC Thunder side last year, how they weren't that particularly good at the three-point line, and how they would be able to adapt to the Chicago Bulls team, and how exactly his playing style will work. And that was a really good question, and he answered it to perfection in my opinion. What he basically said was, there were some really good players in the OKC Thunder camp, as there were, and some of them are not great at the three-point line. And he used Chris Paul as the example. Chris Paul was a fantastic mid-range shooter, and he has been his entire career. I've watched Chris Paul since his Hornets days to his Clippers days. usually his shot is the mid-range shot. And of course, the three is the way to go in the NBA today. Of course, you need to chuck up threes to win games. That's basically how it is these days. But he said, as much as it is taking three-point shots, it's also about not taking away what makes a player good. And he gave, again, Chris Paul the example. What made Chris Paul one of the greatest point guards in the world was not only his ability to pass the ball, but his ability to make mid-range shots, to get to his shot, average the stats, average a fantastic percentage from that mid-range area. And he said that it's important to not take away what makes these players good away from them. Yes, of course, the structure of Billy Donovan is passing. It's pick and rolls. It's making sure that every single aspect of the offense and the defense works well for everybody on the team. That is what Billy Donovan will do for us. But it's very, very, very telling to know that we're not going to take away some of these players' best attributes in order for the team. Of course, there is sacrifice, as he mentioned before. But a player like Kobe White, for example, who's very, very quick, fast, he enjoys the fast break. He's a very good shooter, both from the three and from the mid-range. I'm happy to see that we're not going to see Kobe White in the corner chucking up threes, because that's not his game. And also, it's very similar with the mid-range. I'm happy Kobe White is not going to just completely ignore the mid-range game, because in the end, he's a good mid-range shooter. And it's very the same. Wendell Carter as well. Wendell Carter is the only shot that he would take is a mid-range shot, pretty much. He's not that great at the three-point line, but in the mid-range, he's not bad. I'm happy that shot is not going to be taken away from him, because it's all about chucking up threes. I enjoy that philosophy of, yes, three-pointers are important. We're going to need to make sure we limit turnovers and get to the free throw line and attack the paint. But we also need to make sure that these players play to their strengths just as much as they are sacrificing. And I really enjoyed that as well. That was another thing that he talked about. When Billy was asked about a rebuild and basically said that leaving OKC Thunder, he was not interested in a rebuild, Billy Donovan shut that down real quick. And he said that he was just not, it was people speaking on his behalf. It was not necessarily him saying he wasn't looking for a rebuild. He just had a talk with the OKC Thunder camp, and he left those talks in OKC. He didn't add anything specific or anything that would make that answer correct or incorrect. But he basically talked about, especially with the Chicago Bulls, to build. So in the end, for me at least, and I'm gonna make a video about this later, but he's not interested in whether it's a rebuild or not. I think he was interested in the partnership. He was interested in how to get a team better and how he has minds that think alike that will help him. And he has, again, he talked about the partnership with Arturas and Eversley working side by side to making this team better. Again, we've mentioned that a lot, but it was mentioned a lot in this interview and in this press conference. And he definitely did say in relation to the rebuild, in reality, it wasn't necessarily he wasn't looking for the rebuild or he was trying to go to an already made team. I think it was the fact that at that time, the OKC Thunder were probably going into a direction that probably wasn't best suited for Billy Donovan, and he wanted to move on. And in the end, the Chicago Bulls wasn't a guarantee that we would get Billy Donovan. At the end of the day, he even admitted that the Chicago Bulls, he had no idea they were interested in until basically he got home. So in reality, it's not that he wasn't looking for a rebuild, he was looking for an already made team. I think the fact is that he was looking for a place where he felt like his contributions would be equally matched with the players and the owners and the management across the board, and how everybody will work for one goal, and that is to get better. And in my opinion, if you have all those people working towards one goal, there's only going to be one outcome, and that is that the Bulls get better. Now, before I go into the last thing I did want to talk about, if there is anything that I did miss in this press conference that you guys feel are just as important as the things that I've mentioned, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And I would love to agree or disagree. I would love to have a conversation with a lot of you guys and discuss what you guys thought was important with this press conference, as well as what your vision is for the Chicago Bulls. At the end of the day, us fans are part of this process as well. It's not just about Donovan and Eversley and Arturas working together and the players. It's also about the fans. What can we do to make this team better? How can we support the team? How can we voice our frustrations and our positivity in certain ways that makes this team feel like they belong or feel that they need to improve? And I do think us as fans are part of this process just as much as anybody, because we're the ones that will always stay here when the process gets well or when we have to rebuild. We are the ones that are staying here, and I really want to get your comments below, the Chicago Bulls fans. And of course, the last thing I wanted to talk about was what Billy Donovan thought about the Chicago Bulls prior, obviously, to joining us. Obviously, the first thing he said was the Chicago Bulls is an iconic franchise, and you're going to get plus, you're going to get ticks anytime we talk greatly about Chicago, whether you're from Chicago, whether you work for Chicago, or even if you're not even from Chicago, but you're a Bulls fan. When you say that the Bulls are an iconic franchise and this city has great fans and has a great organization and people that want it to succeed, you're going to get a big thumbs up from everybody. That's perfect. You obviously, you want players, you want coaches, you want management to speak highly about this city. Because at the end of the day, I've never been to Chicago, but watching the games for nearly 6 years now, I know Chicago Bulls are a great city with great fans, and it's my dream to go there. It's my dream to watch a Bulls game live. And at the end of the day, that is something that really got me excited, because when you think about it, the Chicago Bulls have been, what, first or second in attendance for, I would say, the last 10 years. We have, whether the team sucked or the team was building on all stages and was the best team in the NBA, we stuck with this team. And a lot of players and a lot of fans paid their tributes and going to watch the game and going to give everything that they have. And in my opinion, when you speak highly about the fans, you're gonna do big brownie points when it comes to doing your interviews and all of that. Now people really feel attached to Billy Donovan because he is saying all these things that obviously the Bulls fans know they are. Bulls fans know they're passionate. Bulls fans know that they're supportive. Bulls fans know that they're the best fans in the NBA. It's as simple as that. I mean, when this team was at its lowest, and that was what, maybe the first year of Jim Boylan, Fred Hoiberg, even before that in around the 2000s era, when you had maybe one or two decent players, but in the end the Bulls sucked. We were great in attendance. And then obviously when you had the D Rose era and you had the MJ era, of course that was beautiful. But when you had the D Rose, Noah, Dang, and the emergence of Jimmy Butler, Carlos Boozer, you had that team, and the fans were still there. We have never abandoned the Chicago Bulls, and I'm very, very happy that Billy Donovan recognized how great the city is and how great the Chicago Bulls is and how iconic this franchise is. Because at the end of the day, we are a large market, and a lot of that is because we are an iconic franchise. We are significant to the NBA. When you talk about the NBA, one of the teams you talk about are the Chicago Bulls, and we have the best player of all time playing for our team. That has happened before. The NBA does significantly better when the Chicago Bulls are doing better. When the Chicago Bulls are good, the NBA is better. It's as simple as that. And I'm very happy that he spoke very highly of us. Of course, he works for us now. He works for the Chicago Bulls. He's the head coach. He's not going to say anything bad, but it's always nice to hear when people speak highly of this franchise, this organization, and of course the fans that do everything for this team. And I'm very happy to be a part of that. And that was obviously the last thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to end it on a high note, man. Talk about the fans. Give yourselves a round of applause, a pat on the back, whatever you like, because at the end of the day, you guys deserve it. We've been through this hardship for a long time. We've seen what it's like with the old previous management scheme. And we haven't played a game under this new management scheme, but I can truly feel like it definitely looks like the grass is greener on this side of it than what it was like a few months back. And I'm happy, you're happy, I'm excited, you're excited. This video is going to be a long video, but I'm happy, man. And we'll see how this goes. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Again, if I missed anything in this press conference, at the end of the day, it was 1 hour long. And I can't answer every single question that happened, but I tried to take a little bit of the key elements through multiple questions that they were asked, and hopefully I did a good job at that. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care and peace.